Hello. So I'm live here, and this is what I've been doing. I've been building a bunch of pedals. I figured I'd do that instead of just sitting around doing nothing. So I started picking up where I left off last, and I wanted to conquer the fuzz world. And the fuzz world started back with these two guys. And these were, me and Jeff Hyatt decided to build some fuzzes, and this is where we started, and this was about 10 years ago when these were built. And since then I built this tube fuzz, which was a similar circuit to those, but I added a tube to it. And that turned out pretty cool, but the tubes I just found that ended up being kind of unreliable. So I quit. I didn't make very many of those. And so I've spent the last probably month or 2 months just working on fuzzes. And as you can see, there's a bunch of them down there. But these are pretty much all fuzzes the whole way down. And there's all different types. Just a side note, this is the first Greedtone pedal right here. This is number 1. The very first one. The first 5 were made in orange. This guy Lee painted the boxes for me, and there's only 5 of those. So if you see one of the orange ones, that's the original 5. And then when I decided to go turn this pedal sideways was after I made 100 of them. And the reason I did that is these originally came with a little toggle switch, and everyone would seem to kick that, and then they'd come back and say, oh yeah, my switch broke. And then they would kind of act like it just broke, but I would be like, well, did you kind of do this move with your foot? And they would be like, well, I'm like, and you just kind of kicked it. So eventually, my friend Mark Berno talked me into putting a stomp switch for this. And then I eventually turned it into this model. And this is number 1 of the sideways version of that overdrive. So, and then that blue box you see over here, this has been kind of my working jig for designing the fuzzes. And when I design something, I start out like this, where I come up with something to build, and then I basically start adding switches and putting a million options in there. And then I go through it and kind of find what I think's cool. And then I usually call my friend Jeff Hyatt over, and then he plays it and kind of goes, yeah, I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. And then we kind of work our way back through it. So after doing all this, I came up with this pedal, which we kind of felt like was that best combination. And you'll see that I'm not really much of a player. I'm more of a guy that's going to sit and just build the stuff. So you're not going to hear some amazing playing or anything, but so the thing I like about that's the harmonics, and then there's just an array of different sounds throughout here. And this was a pedal which will probably be out at some point, called the Dope Gnome, but this is one that me and Jeff Hyatt came up with. And then there's just different arrays as you go down it. That's kind of your metal tone sound. Cleaner fuzz. So those are just kind of some of the things I've been messing with. I seem to play in distortions and fuzzes more than anything. Overdrives. There's a bunch of other ones I've been playing around with. You see kind of one of the rare boost pedals in here. I made maybe 8 of these, and then somehow decided I didn't like them, and I pulled most of them off the market and actually reclaimed most of them. Bought them off people to get them out of there. So if you find one of these, probably won't have that color knob, but there's probably 3 of them out there. So that's a pretty rare pedal in itself. I'm just going to pull this off here and show you kind of what I'm doing over here. This is where I've been working from, and I've been staying with my girlfriend Laura, and she does leather work, and so this is where she makes stuff. But I basically right now getting ready to working on designing a reverb pedal, and this is the chip, and I'm gonna try that out and see what that's like. But so this is one that I've kind of getting ready to play with today. Every day I've been trying to build something, and so when all this happened, I went out and bought a bunch of boxes and started just painting them randomly, and I paint them right out there on the porch. And you can see there's Seattle right there. But I paint them right there and kind of just know a certain way to do it. I just kind of, every day I go out there and try something different. So they all look a little different. They all have their own unique paint jobs. And so I'll probably be coming there. This is who hangs out with me all day. This is Fuzo. He's inspecting his world right now, making sure everything's okay out there. And I basically just sit here all day and play with these things. And if you're wondering what I would design stuff on, it's, believe it or not, right there. And you would ask, why would you use a PV? Well, I'll tell you why I would use a PV. Is because every PV you've ever owned or have, you still have, and it still works, and it still sounds the same. And that's why I use a PV, because I know what I'm getting. Where when I used to use tube stuff a lot, sometimes something wouldn't be working right, and I would think, well, is it my pedal? And then I finally realized it was my amp that was messing up, and I had just wasted a day and a half because of my amp. And so I decided to switch to the PV, because that thing always works. So that's what I use. I use just one side of it. And then above that, you can see that's J-High number 1. That's actually Jeff Hyatt. That's where J-High comes from. And that's his amp. It came in after many years. It needed a little bit of a tune-up, so I'm going to go through with that. But that's the reason I started building the amps, was Jeff Hyatt came to me and asked me to design an amp. And our goal was kind of build the ultimate rock and roll amp. And, first we had to kind of decide, well, what's the ultimate rock and roll amp? And we decided, well, you should be able to play Cream, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and AC/DC without a pedal. And so that was what we set out to build. And being a sound guy, the first thing I said was, well, I think we should be able to get the tone at any volume, because I'm so sick of every dude coming in going, hey, I got to be at this certain volume or I can't get my tone, and hey, I can't turn down. And then me being the sound guy, I just got to deal with it. And I got people in the crowd in my face going, hey, I can't hear this, I can't hear that, the guitar's too loud. And I'm just like, what am I supposed to do about it? So that amp will keep the same tone at any volume. And Fuzo, he came over to see what was going on. He's always involved in everything I'm doing. He's quality control, making sure that everything's working right. But I figured I'd just show you guys some of this, so I'm going to sweep down some of these pedals. This boost pedal, by itself, I'm not a huge fan of it, but when you put it in the end of your pedal chain, in the middle, it doesn't change your tone at all, and it's just a volume boost. And then if you turn it this way, it'll start rolling off quite a bit of highs, and when you get down there, it's a lot of highs missing, and when you roll it this way, it's less. And so between that, you can kind of shape the tone of other pedals. And I notice when you kick it on in the end of the chain, it's like a great EQ for your whole pedal chain. And then this fuzz has 2 gain stages in it and gets pretty fuzzy. And these are single gain stage fuzzes, and they actually both are different. One is diode clipping, another one is transistor clipping. And then this one is the one that I probably won't tell you too much about, just because that's where I'm headed with it right now. This was just playing around with some stuff, and I did the mid cut so you could get that full metal tone with it. This is one where I've just been putting a lot of transistors in it, playing around. And then this was originally called the Dope Gnome. I just put Heavy Stoner on it. We'll see where that one goes. That'll probably end up being a product. And then I'll give you a look at some of these. This is a very metal 80s tone. That's why I made it look like spandex. And then here's a bunch of other stuff. And you're seeing just an arsenal of you know, random stuff. The suck knob that I've literally built one of and never built another one, maybe at some point. That pedal right there is the early prototype for the Big Al. That one ended up coming out and will still be in the line. The boosters, these were early boosters for that pedal. This is one of those tone boost things that I was just showing you. And then of course, that's Jeff Hyatt's fuzz. And this is a one-of-a-kind pedal. This is mine, and it has a built-in suck knob. That's what's on the side. And this thing does some crazy stuff. And one day I found out that it would do some weird oscillation thing, and you could start making weird noises with the gain knob and stuff. And I finally figured out what caused that, and I installed it into here. And recently I made a pedal for David Cinnamon, and it's called the Cinnamon Toast, and we incorporated some of that so he could do some R&D on that for me. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's what's been going on. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to try to do more of these so you guys can kind of see what's going on in my world. If you have questions or comments, feel free to always hit me up. Bye.